The collision. Luna Rivera clutched her clipboard against her chest as she hurried through the pristine gardens of Silverstone Vineyard. Her emerald dress, borrowed from her roommate and slightly too long, swished around her ankles as she navigated between perfectly arranged white chairs. The afternoon sun cast golden shadows across the venue, creating the romantic atmosphere every bride dreamed of. Everything looked flawless from the outside, but Luna knew better. This was her first major wedding contract, and it was falling apart faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. The florist had delivered pink peonies instead of white roses. The string quartet was stuck in traffic on Highway 29, and somehow, the wedding cake had arrived with "Congratulations, Mark and Jennifer," instead of "Matthew and Jessica." Luna had exactly 47 minutes to fix 3 disasters before 200 guests witnessed what could be the end of her event planning career. She pressed her phone to her ear, speaking in hushed but urgent tones to her backup florist. "Please tell me you have white roses. Any white roses? I don't care if they're from your grandmother's garden." Luna wasn't watching where she was going. Her attention was split between the phone call and mentally calculating how long it would take to remove Mark and Jennifer from buttercream frosting. She rounded the corner of the vineyard's main building at full speed, her heels clicking against the stone pathway. That's when physics decided to teach her a lesson about momentum. The collision was spectacular in the worst possible way. Luna slammed into what felt like a wall of expensive fabric and masculine cologne. Her clipboard went flying, papers scattering like confused butterflies. Her phone sailed through the air in a perfect arc, the champagne glass she'd been carrying. For the pre-ceremony toast painted a golden stream across the front of the most beautiful suit she'd ever seen. Strong hands caught her before she could complete her graceful descent to the ground. For a moment, Luna found herself suspended in time, her face inches from a jawline that could have been carved from marble. The scent of bergamot and sandalwood filled her senses, making her momentarily forget her own name. "Well," a deep voice said, rich with amusement, "this is certainly one way to make an introduction." Luna blinked, trying to focus on the face. Attached to that voice, dark hair that looked like it had been styled by someone who charged more per hour than she made in a week. Eyes the color of storm clouds, sharp and intelligent, studying her with obvious curiosity. And a mouth that was currently curved in what might have been a smile, though she couldn't be sure if it was friendly or predatory. "Oh no," Luna breathed, finally registering the champagne stain spreading across his pristine white shirt. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." The man in he was definitely a man. Not the elderly guest she'd been hoping to crash straightened her carefully before stepping back. His movements were controlled, deliberate, like someone accustomed to being in charge of every situation. "I take it this wasn't part of the wedding festivities?" he said, brushing at the champagne stain with the kind of calm that suggested this. "Wasn't his first ruined shirt?" Luna's face burned with embarrassment. She bent to gather her scattered papers. "I am so sorry. I was on the phone and I wasn't watching where I was going, and you were just standing there and I breathed." The stranger interrupted, crouching down to help collect her notes. "It's just a shirt, just a shirt." Luna's voice pitched higher. "That's not just a shirt. It's a shirt that probably costs more than my car payment. Maybe my rent too." He handed her a stack of papers, and Luna noticed his hand strong, with long fingers and no wedding ring. There was something about the way he moved that suggested power, the kind that came with authority and money. "You seem to know a lot about expensive shirts," he observed, standing and offering her his hand. Luna hesitated before accepting his. "Help up." His grip was firm, warm, and sent an unexpected jolt through her system. "I work in events. I've seen enough designer disasters to recognize quality when I'm destroying it." "Events," he said, and Luna caught something shift in his expression. "You're the event coordinator." The way he said it made Luna pause. Not an event coordinator, but the event coordinator, like he'd been expecting her. Which was impossible, because she'd never seen this man before in her life. She would have remembered someone who looked like he'd stepped off the cover of a business magazine. "Luna Rivera?" she said, extending her hand professionally, despite the circumstances. "Rivera Events and Planning." "Damian Cross," he replied. Luna felt her stomach drop to somewhere around her borrowed heels. She knew that name. Everyone in California's event planning industry knew that name. Damian Cross, the tech mogul who'd built his company from nothing into a billion-dollar empire before he turned 30. The man who bought entire hotel chains as investment properties, the guest whose presence at an event could make or break careers. And she'd just doused him in champagne. "The challenge, Mr. Cross?" Luna managed, her professional smile wobbling at the edges. "I'm terribly sorry about your shirt. Please send me the cleaning bill or replacement cost or whatever you need." "It's handled," he said dismissively, but his eyes never left her face. "Though I have to ask this how you usually greet your clients' guests." Luna's cheeks burned hotter. "Only the ones unfortunate enough to be standing in my path when I'm having a crisis." "Crisis?" Damian raised an eyebrow, and Luna noticed it was perfectly shaped. Of course, it was probably groomed by the same person who did his hair. Before Luna could stop herself, the words came tumbling out. "The florist sent pink peonies instead of white roses. The string quartet is stuck in traffic, and the wedding cake has the wrong names on it. I have 40 minutes to fix everything before Jessica becomes Mrs. Martinez. I'm pretty sure I'm about to have a panic attack." Damian listened to her rapid-fire explanation without interruption, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he tilted his head slightly, studying her like she was a particularly interesting puzzle. 40 minutes? He repeated thoughtfully. 38 now, Luna corrected, glancing at her watch. "And you think you can fix all of that?" Luna squared, her shoulders, lifting her chin with more confidence than she felt. "Mr. Cross, I've been planning events since I was 12 years old, organizing my little sister's birthday parties. I once pulled together a corporate retreat for 200 people in 6 hours when the original planner got food poisoning. 3 problems in 38 minutes is ambitious but not impossible." Something flickered in Damian's eyes for Vol. Maybe her interest. "Impressive credentials," Luna said, then remembered she was supposed to be apologizing, not boasting, "but right now, I really need to go fix a cake." She started to turn away, but Damian's voice stopped her. "Luna." The way he said her name made her skin tingle. She looked back, surprised by the intensity in his gaze. "Good luck," he said simply. "Challenge accepted." Luna nodded and hurried away, her mind already racing through solutions. She didn't have time to wonder why Damian Cross was watching her go with such obvious interest, or why his good luck had sounded less like a pleasantry and more like a dare. She had a wedding to save. The next 38 minutes passed in a blur of frantic phone calls and creative problem-solving. Luna talked the vineyard's kitchen staff into helping her scrape names off buttercream frosting. She convinced a local grocery store to deliver every white flower they had in stock. She personally drove to the Musicians' Union Hall to pick up a backup violinist when the original quartet remained stuck in traffic. By the time Jessica's music began and the bride started her walk down the aisle, Luna had managed to pull off something resembling the wedding of Jessica's dreams. The flowers weren't perfect, but they were white and beautiful. Music was a trio instead of a quartet, but they played with enough passion to make up for the missing member. And the cake simply read "Forever Begins Today" in elegant script, where the wrong names had been. Luna stood at the back of the ceremony, watching Jessica's face light up as she saw her groom waiting at the altar. This was why she loved her job, despite the stress and the impossible deadlines and the champagne-stained billionaires. She got to be part of the moments when everything came together perfectly, when love conquered chaos and details. Quite a transformation. Luna jumped, turning to find Damian Cross standing beside her. He'd changed into a fresh shirt, she noticed, though she tried not to think about what that implied about his resources or preparedness. "Thank you," she whispered, not wanting to disturb the ceremony. "I wasn't sure I could pull it off." Damian said quietly, and something in his tone made Luna look at him more carefully. He was watching the ceremony, but she had the distinct impression his attention was focused on her. It was unsettling and flattering and confusing all at once. "Why?" she asked. Damian glanced at her, his smile small but genuine. "Because anyone who can coordinate disaster recovery while covered in champagne and still look that determined is someone who doesn't give up easily." Luna felt heat rise in her cheeks again, but this time it wasn't entirely from embarrassment. "You don't know me well enough to make that assessment." "Maybe not," Damian agreed, his voice low enough that she had to lean closer to hear him. I'd like to. Before Luna could process that statement or formulate a response, the officiant was pronouncing Jessica and Matthew husband and wife. The guests erupted in applause, and the moment was lost in the celebration. But as Luna watched Damian Cross smile and clap for the happy couple, she couldn't shake the feeling that her collision with him had been more than just an accident. It felt like the beginning of something she wasn't sure she was prepared for something. That might be even more challenging than planning a perfect wedding. The revelation, the wedding reception, was in full swing when Luna finally allowed herself to breathe. Crystal glasses clinked with celebratory toasts, couples swayed on the dance floor, and the golden hour light painted everything in romantic hues. She stood near the catering station, mentally checking off her final tasks while keeping one eye on the cake table and another on the gift registry. "You clean up well for someone who survived a champagne explosion," Luna turned to find Damian Cross approaching with 2 glasses of wine. He'd traded his stained shirt for a fresh one that somehow looked even more expensive than the first. His dark hair was slightly tousled now, as if he'd run his fingers through it, and Luna found herself wondering what it would feel like to do the same. "Thank you," she said, accepting the wine gratefully. "Though I'm not sure survived is the right word. I think I'm still running on adrenaline and caffeine." "Effective combination," Damian observed, moving to stand beside her. From this vantage point, they could see the entire reception. "Tell me, do you always throw yourself into your work with such intensity?" Luna took a sip of wine, noting that it was probably worth more than her weekly grocery budget. "When your reputation depends on making other people's dreams come true, intensity isn't optional." "Reputation?" Damian repeated thoughtfully. "How long have you been building yours?" 3 years officially," Luna said, watching Jessica laugh as her new husband spun her around the dance floor. "Though I've been planning events since I was a kid, my parents owned a small restaurant, and I used to help coordinate their private parties." She didn't mention that the restaurant had closed when she was 16, or that her parents had lost everything in the process. Some stories weren't meant for champagne-stained first meetings with billionaires. "Family business," Damian said, and something in his tone suggested he understood more than she'd told him. "Those can be complicated." Before Luna could ask what he meant, Jessica's voice rang out across the reception. "Everyone, I need to steal Luna for just a moment." Luna smiled apologetically at Damian and made her way to where the bride was, practically glowing with happiness. Jessica grabbed her hands, squeezing them tightly. "Luna, you were absolutely incredible," Jessica gushed. "I don't know how you fixed everything, but this day has been perfect. Better than perfect." "I'm just glad we pulled it off," Luna said, genuinely pleased by Jessica's joy. Jessica raised an eyebrow. "Honey, this was all you." "And speaking of pulling things off, I need to introduce you to someone very important." Jessica turned, scanning the crowd until her gaze landed on Damian Cross. She waved him over with enthusiasm that made Luna's stomach flutter with apprehension. "Damian, come meet the miracle worker I was telling you about." Luna felt the blood drain from her face as understanding dawned. "You two know each other?" "Know each other?" Jessica laughed. "Damian is Matthew's business partner. He's also the one who recommended this venue?" She paused, grinning mischievously. "And he might have mentioned he was interested in investing in event planning businesses." Damian reached them, his expression carefully neutral, but Luna caught something that might have been amusement in his eyes. "Jessica, I see you're playing matchmaker again," he said smoothly. "I'm not matchmaking," Jessica protested. "I'm business. Facilitating." Luna Damian has been looking for event coordination companies to partner with for his corporate retreats and product launches. "And after today's performance, I think you two need to talk." Luna stared at Damian, pieces of a puzzle she hadn't known existed clicking into place. "Oh, you knew who I was when we crashed into each other." "I knew Rivera Events was handling the wedding," Damian admitted. "I didn't know you were Luna Rivera. But you figured it out pretty quickly when I introduced myself." "Yes." Jessica looked between them, clearly sensing undercurrents she didn't understand. "Wait, you two have already met?" "At a collision," Luna said dryly. "Literally," Damian added. "I was wearing the evidence until 20 minutes ago," Jessica's eyes lit up with delight. This is perfect. Fate brought you together. Luna wasn't sure if fate was the right word for whatever was happening, but she couldn't deny the electric tension crackling between her and Damian. The way he looked at her made her feel like she was the only person in the room, despite being surrounded by 200 wedding guests. Jessica, Matthew called from across the dance floor. They're ready for our first dance. Oh. Jessica squeezed Luna's hand one more time. We'll talk more later. But Damian, don't let her get away. She's special. As Jessica hurried away, Luna found herself alone with Damian again. The reception continued around them, but it felt like they were standing in their own private bubble. So, Luna said, trying to keep her voice steady, was this all some elaborate setup? No, Damian said firmly. My being here tonight was planned. Meeting you the way I did was not. But you've been looking for event planners? I've been looking for the right event planner, he corrected. Someone who can handle pressure, think on their feet, and deliver results when everything goes wrong. Luna studied his face, searching for signs of deception. And you think I'm that person based on one disaster recovery? I think you're that person based on how you handled yourself today, Damian said. The champagne incident was just the introduction. What came after was the interview. Interview. Luna's voice rose slightly. You mean while I was running around in a panic trying to save Jessica's wedding, you were evaluating me? I was watching you work, Damian said calmly. There's a difference. Luna felt a surge of indignation mixed with something else amazing that felt dangerously like attraction. That's incredibly presumptuous. Maybe, Damian agreed.
But...
Effective. I've seen you under pressure now. I know what you're capable of. And what exactly do you think I'm capable of? Damian stepped closer, and Luna caught that intoxicating scent of bergamot and sandalwood again. More than you realize, he said softly. The question is whether you're willing to find out. The proposition, the music from the reception faded as Luna and Damian walked along the vineyard's moonlit terrace. She'd needed air, needed space to think, and somehow he'd followed her outside without invitation. Not that she minded. The conversation they'd started inside felt too important to abandon. So let me understand this correctly, Luna said, her heels clicking against the stone path. You want to hire Rivera Events for your corporate functions? I want to partner with Rivera Events, Damian corrected. There's a difference. Partnership implies equality, mutual benefit, long-term commitment. Luna stopped walking and turned to face him. The moonlight caught the sharp angles of his face, making him look like something out of a Renaissance painting. What exactly are you proposing? Cross Industries hosts approximately 40 corporate events per year, Damian said, his tone shifting. Into business mode. Product launches, investor meetings, board retreats, charity galas. Our current event management is handled in-house, but it's not our specialty. We need someone who can elevate our events from functional to unforgettable. And you think I can do that? I know you can. His certainty was both thrilling and terrifying. What I witnessed today wasn't just problem-solving, it was artistry. Under pressure. Luna felt her pulse quicken. What kind of partnership are we talking about? Exclusive contract for all Cross Industries events. It's guaranteed minimum revenue of $2 million per year with performance bonuses that could double. That, full creative control, unlimited budget within reason, and a team of assistants to handle the logistics you won't want to manage personally. Luna's breath caught. $2 million? It was more than she'd made in the past 3 years combined. It was enough to pay off her student loans, to help her parents with their medical bills. Maybe even buy her own place, instead of sharing a cramped apartment with 3 roommates. There has to be a catch, she said. No catch. Just expectations. Damian moved closer, and Luna felt the warmth radiating from his body. I don't accept mediocrity in any aspect of my business. If you work with me, you'll be held to the highest. Standards? I can handle high standards. I know you can. His voice dropped to that low, intimate tone that made her skin tingle. But there's something else we need to discuss. Luna's heart hammered against her ribs.
What?
The fact that I'm attracted to you. The words hung in the air between them, charged with possibility and danger. Luna had suspected as much, but hearing him say it out loud made it real. That's not professional. she managed. No, it's not. Damian didn't sound apologetic, but it's honest. And I found that honesty is the best foundation for any kind of partnership. You're talking about mixing business with pleasure? Talking about acknowledging that what's happening between us exists, whether we name it or not? He reached out, his fingers barely brushing her arm. The question is whether we're going to pretend it doesn't, or whether we're mature enough to navigate both. Luna's mind raced. Everything logical told her to run. Getting involved with a client, especially one as powerful as Damian Cross, was professional suicide. But her heart was pounding, and her body was responding to his proximity in ways that had nothing to do with logic. This is insane, she whispered. Maybe Damian agreed. But sometimes the best opportunities come disguised as insanity. Before Luna could respond, her phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at it automatically, then felt her world tilt. Oh no, she breathed. What is it? Luna stared at the message, reading it again to make sure she wasn't hallucinating. It's from Richard Blackwood, the hotel mogul. He was here tonight. He saw what I did with Jessica's wedding. Luna's voice was barely a whisper. To hire me for his daughter's engagement party next month. It's a 500-person event with $1 million budget. Damian went very still. Blackwood Development is one of Cross Industries' biggest competitors. I know. Luna looked up at him, seeing the calculation in his eyes. If I take this job, it could launch my career into the stratosphere. But if I take your partnership offer, you'd be exclusive to Cross Industries, Damian finished. No outside clients. They stared at each other in the moonlight, both understanding the magnitude of the choice before them. Luna had gone from struggling to find clients to having 2 life-changing opportunities in the span of a single evening. I need to think, she said finally. How long? I don't know. This is the biggest decision of my career, potentially of your life, Damian added quietly. Luna met his gaze, seeing something vulnerable beneath his composed exterior. Is that a threat or a promise? It's a statement of fact. He stepped back, giving her space but not breaking eye contact. I don't make offers like this lightly, Luna, and I don't feel what I'm feeling about you lightly either.
What are you feeling?
Like I've been waiting my whole life for someone to crash into me and turn everything upside down. Luna's breath caught. Damian, take the time you need, he said, pulling out his phone. But know that whatever you decide, tonight changed everything. He typed something quickly, then showed her the screen. It was a contact card with all his personal information. That's my direct line. No assistants, no gatekeepers.
Oh.
When you're ready to talk, call me. Luna saved the contact, her hands trembling slightly. What if I choose Blackwood? Then I'll respect your decision, Damian said. But I'll also spend every day wondering what might have been, and if I choose you. His smile was slow and devastating. Then we'll build something extraordinary together. Just business? That's up to you. He leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to her cheek, his lips lingering just long enough to make her heart race. But Luna? Yes? Whatever you decide based on what you want, not what you think you should want. Life's too short for shithaves. With that, he walked away, leaving Luna alone on the terrace with 2 business cards burning holes in her purse, and a choice that would define the rest of her life. The decision 3 days later, Luna sat in her cramped apartment, staring at 2 contracts spread across her kitchen table. The Blackwood offer was everything she'd dreamed off stage, independence, and the kind of high-profile client that would open doors throughout the industry. The Cross Industries partnership was everything she'd never dared to dream of: security, its unlimited resources, and the chance to build something lasting. And then there was Damian himself. Since the wedding, replaying every moment of their encounter, the way he'd looked at her, the electricity she'd felt when he touched her, the certainty in his voice when he'd said he'd been waiting his whole life for someone to crash into him. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. Jessica's name appeared. On the screen? Please tell me you've made a decision, Jessica said, without preamble. I've been dying to know what happened after I left you 2 alone. I'm still thinking, Luna said, rubbing her temples. Luna, honey, what's to think about? Damian Cross is offering you the moon and the stars. Plus, He's gorgeous and clearly smitten with you. It's not that simple. Why not? Luna hesitated, then decided on honesty. Because I'm scared. The Blackwood job is one event. If I mess up once and move on. But if I take Damian's offer and things don't work out, I'll have burned every bridge in the industry. And if they do work out, then I'll have everything I've ever wanted, including the man. Luna's silence was answer enough. Oh, sweetie, Jessica said softly. You're not just scared of professional failure. You're scared of getting your heart broken. Wouldn't you be? Not terrified, Jessica admitted. But I'd also be more scared of wondering what if for the rest of my life. After Jessica hung up, Luna found herself reaching for her laptop. She needed to research both companies. More thoroughly needed to understand what she was really choosing between. What she found made her decision even more complicated. Blackwood Development was solid, profitable, but notorious for treating vendors as disposable. Cross Industries, on the other hand, was known for long-term partnerships and employee loyalty. Damian Cross himself was described as demanding but fair, brilliant but unexpectedly considerate. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The flowers from the wedding are still fresh. Thought you might want to know. Luna smiled despite herself. She'd completely forgotten about the emergency flowers she'd ordered. The fact that Damian had thought to check on them, to let her know they hadn't gone to waste, said something about the kind of man he was. Picked up her phone and dialed his number. Luna, he answered on the first ring, and she could hear the smile in his voice. I've been thinking about your offer, she said. And I have some questions. I'm listening. Luna took a deep breath. I take this partnership, and if things develop between us personally, what happens if they don't work out? I need to know I won't lose my career if I lose my heart. There was a long pause. That's a fair question, Damian said finally. If our personal relationship ended badly, it would be natural for you to worry about retaliation. But Luna, I've built my reputation on integrity. I've never used business to settle personal scores, and I won't start now. Can you put that in writing? I'll have my lawyers draft a clause protecting your professional position regardless of our personal relationship status. Will that work? Yes. Luna felt a weight lift from her shoulders. But there's something else. What? I want to meet your team. I want to see the offices, understand the culture. If I'm going to be partners with Cross Industries, I need to know what I'm walking into. Of course, when can you come in? Tomorrow? I'll pick you up at 9, Damian, Luna said, then paused, gathering her courage. I'm still scared. Good, he said softly. If you weren't scared, it would mean this didn't matter to you. And Luna? Yes, I'm scared too. But I'm more excited than scared. And I think you are too. The next morning, Luna stood in front of her closet, trying to decide what to wear, to potentially change her life. She settled on a navy blue dress that was professional but not stuffy. Paired with her lucky heels, same ones she'd been wearing when she crashed into Damian. He arrived exactly at 9, looking devastatingly handsome in a charcoal gray suit. But it was his smile that made her pulse race warm, genuine, and slightly nervous. Ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. Cross Industries offices were everything Luna had imagined and more. Floor-tizzling windows overlooked the city. Modern art decorated the walls, and the energy was palpable. But it was the people who impressed her most. They were passionate, collaborative, and genuinely excited about their work. This is where your office would be, Damian said, showing her a corner space with stunning views. If you want it, it's beautiful, Luna breathed. So, Damian turned to face her. What do you think? Luna looked around the office, then at Damian. She saw her future in his eyes shillinging, uncertain, but full of possibility. I think, she said slowly, that I'm ready to stop playing it. Safe. Is that a yes? That's a yes to the partnership. She stepped closer to him, her heart hammering. And a yes to seeing what happens between us. Damian's smile was radiant. Even though you're scared? Especially because I'm scared. Luna rose on her toes and kissed him softly. Sighed, someone recently told me that the best opportunities come disguised as insanity. Smart person. Damian murmured against her lips. I thought so. As they kissed in the corner office, that would become hers. Luna knew she'd made the right choice. She'd stopped running from her dreams and started running toward them instead. And if that meant crashing into a few more walls along the way, well, at least she'd have Damian Cross to catch her when she fell. 6 months later, Luna stood in the ballroom of the Grand Metropole Hotel, watching as 500 of the city's most influential people enjoyed what would later be called the event of the decade. Cross Industries' annual gala had exceeded every expectation, earning features in 3 major magazines and generating more business than Damian had projected for the entire year. "Congratulations," Damian said, sliding his arms around her waist from behind. "You've officially ruined every other event planner in the city." "Good," Luna said, leaning back against his chest. "I like being irreplaceable." "You are," he murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. "In every possible way." Luna turned in his arms, looking up at the man who'd changed her entire world with a single collision. "No regrets?" "Only one," Damian said, "which is that I didn't walk around that corner 5 minutes sooner." Luna laughed, her heart full to bursting. "Why?" "Because then I would have had 5 more minutes with you." As they danced to the music floating through the ballroom, Luna reflected on the journey that had brought them here. She'd been so afraid of taking risks, of putting herself out there, of trusting someone with her heart and her career. But sometimes, the most terrifying leaps led to the most beautiful landings. "I love you," she whispered against his ear. "I love you too," Damian replied, spinning her around the dance floor. "Thank you for crashing into my life. Thank you for catching me when I fell." "Always," he promised, and Luna knew he meant it. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Luna allowed herself a moment of pure satisfaction. She'd built something extraordinary, not just a business, but a life. And it had all started with a collision, a champagne stain, and the courage to choose love over fear. The rest, as they say, was history. The end.